Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UBports Community Update for September 2nd, 2017. We've got a great roundup of community news, this microphone in my frame, and questions. So, I'm going to post these links in our chats so that everyone knows that we're here. Okay. The thumbnail is me with a microphone in the frame.
Absolutely perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
Professionalism.
Professional. It even had professional on the box.
And Dalton's still lagging. That's important.
Anyway, stay with me. Oh, I lost connection. I'm sorry.
Please turn off your microwave.
Well, joining me today are Jan.
Hello.
Marius.
Woohoo!
And Flo.
Hi.
Excitement.
I'm distracted. I have a fly here and she's killing me. Let's say not literally, but
how do you know it's a she?
I don't know. It's a German she, maybe.
No, Jan.
English.
No.
I think you're discriminating against the fly. Did you just assume the fly's gender?
Okay, let's continue. UBports community team.
Not okay, Flo.
OTA 2 is soon here. Let's start with that.
We are all a little bit excited. I think this is the reason OTA 2 comes, so we are completely out of our
yes.
I think wait for it.
I think there's many people excited about the OTA 2 because there's so much good stuff in there. You have channel switching. You have an updated browser. You have
the transparent background.
Transparent background. We also have upgraded system, the indicators. You have flashlight, and lots of good stuff in there. You see, even I can't remember everything, so that's the good thing with it. And with that, we are targeting to release the RC tomorrow. I have mostly everything ready. I will get everything ready until tomorrow. There are some finished bits and pieces that need some polishing, and then we are good to go for RC and our QA testing way to stable. So that's why we have such a glad tune today, because we are excited about it, but we are excited every day, aren't we?
Yes, that's true.
I totally
but and then we should also mention that the target is that on the RC, everybody's invited who dares to flash it, to test and to give us feedback. But of course, we don't want to delay it too long. So I think it's 1 week, right? Where we want to release to stable. So yeah, be prepared. In 1 week, it might happen that you have an update on your phones.
Yeah,
that's a great thing. It's UBCon. We have a real good milestone selected for the OTA 2, because on UBCon we can show that we are really not, let's say, we are live and fully motivated, and that helps us a lot. Yeah, and I like this. Even if I'm not there, but I hope you can transport this spirit to the people there in the room.
Me and Jan will be there. So if you are there, come and hug us, or we will hug you.
Is that a threat?
Yes, that is a threat.
Yes, that is a threat. And also, I will give Ivan a shout out from the supergroup, by the way. He said I will shout him out, so I shout him out.
Good job. We bring our live chat into the show.
Yes.
So we can ask him if you can call him Ivan or Ivan, because I think he's from Russia, right? So I think, of course, it's Ivan, but just to make clear, for our English native speakers, not Ivan.
Yeah, just if you had said it in Norwegian, it would be Ivan. So I don't know. It's we have that name here in Norway, but I have no clue if that's said the same way. Probably isn't. But sorry if you completely butchered your name. But
okay. Anyway, let's bring this back on track. OTA 2. All right. So we've almost gotten through all of the bugs that we have set for that milestone. And yes, we did put a few more in. Actually, two more in. One was the privacy policy issues, which is a legal problem. We shouldn't release again, making you agree to Canonical's privacy policy instead of ours.
But that's just a matter of changing a link, so it won't delay the release. It's just something we want to get done.
Right. And then the other one was the browser not starting, correct?
Yep. That also
Was
a really critical thing because it's blocking Converge, which is our main point. And now that that is done, me and Jan actually had a full conversation on Jitsi, and I was using Converge, talking to him. So that was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that was also something we wanted to fix before UBCon, so we can show off Converge devices there, so we can connect them to a display and not have the browser crash on us. And
yeah,
that was something we wanted to achieve.
That sounds like a pretty big deal.
And also it's upgraded to Chromium 5.8, 58, and also testing a little bit with 60, since 60 giving an extra performance boost plus some rendering fixes. So I'm not sure if I will really that I have to see if I will upgrade to one of the other, but we'll be sure to test that pretty neatly before we push to Sable. And also with the new 5.8, you now can have a full conversation on Jitsi. With the old one, it was pretty bad. Now it actually works somewhat, so you can actually have a conversation, even though it's a bit laggy sometimes, and you have some drops. But for the most part, it does work.
Okay, so that was a lot about OTA 2 in a very short time. So if anyone has any questions on that, put them in the live chat and we'll answer them as they come in. So, gist of it is, we're looking to release next week, and we're starting the release candidate QA cycle tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. And with that, sorry?
With the QA, I really invite everyone that wants to give a test, and we need to test every single device that make sure that there is no issues, no performance regression. We need to be certain that things work as they should. So definitely, if you want to help out, definitely do some QA testing. Just go through the device, use it as normal. Just use it. Don't be light on it. Just tap away like a monkey and try it really out. Yeah, it's called monkey tester, so just use it heavily just to test it.
I've never heard that term.
We don't actually expect that anything breaks because our modifications, I would say, were made now in quite amount of time. We didn't rush them. So we played ourselves on the devel channel, myself and all the team. I think everybody has some kind of device where it flashes from time to time. So I think the RC will be really, really good, and we don't expect many bugs to show up. By the way, Chloe says, well, I should tell everyone that we are looking superb today. So feedback for our video stream, the video is nice.
Why, thank you, Chloe.
Yeah, thanks.
But anyway, so yes, anybody who can dedicate his device for RC testing, go there, reflash it to the channel. The instructions are on our page. Maybe somebody can post a link, or we put it later in the Q&A summary also. Again, how to change to another channel. And hopefully from there on, with this new OTA, it will be much, much easier for you to switch the channels without reflashing and without losing the data.
Yeah.
This is the interesting point.
It will be one button and you are on another channel. That's pretty amazing that you can do that. And plans for later, we might look into reverting back also, but that's not an option yet. Well, actually, no, you can. You can revert back. Never mind.
Yep, you can go both forwards and backwards, but you might lose features if you go backwards.
Yeah, that's the way. You also might lose settings if you go back, because newer settings will be set in newer releases.
Yep.
Yeah, but we are really looking into making testing and it's helping more accessible to the community, because we are not canonical. We don't have the money to pay trained monkeys. So that's where you guys come in. And we are preparing... Don't laugh at me.
Uh-oh.
That's rude. And now everything breaks. Yeah. So we are currently preparing a list people can follow with features that they can check on their devices if they still work. So before every release, we can go through this list. It's not completely done yet, but I think it should be done any day now, and made public any day now. So you can follow through the list and check every single item. Is it working on my device? Is there something? And then if it's not working, file a bug, provide logs, whatever. Get in touch with the developers so we can make sure it's really stable. With that, we also want to implement a new system of channel rotation, essentially. So we currently have 3 channels: devel, RC, and stable. And the plan always was to have devel with daily builds, RC with release candidates. So if you know, okay, devel is pretty stable, we'll push it over, and stable, for OTA updates, like the one we are looking at now. And in the future, we will have the devel builds be pushed to RC automatically once a week. So we can test on devel, and if we notice, okay, something is really critical on devel, we will have a new issue tag on GitHub, so we can tag issues as critical. And if there's a critical issue, then it doesn't get pushed to RC. If there's not, it gets automatically pushed, so we can test a little more efficiently.
Yep. That also will also help us out, that we don't need to move channels around manually. And what?
Something's going on with that.
Oh, that was very delayed. I'm sorry.
Is your microphone on?
No. It's just raining outside, and that actually makes my DSL work worse. In the saddest thing known to man.
Can rain affect copper? Okay, let's not ask questions on that. Let's continue.
Science. Don't mess with science.
Don't mess with science. Yeah. Do you have anything more on the channel thing, Jan, before we?
Yes, one thing actually. We will also introduce another channel. The reason for that is that we need something where we can test independently from the always moving devel. So we will have a new channel called experimental, or something along the lines of that, where we can test, for example, new ports. For example, we were trying to create a new port for the Nexus 7 and Nexus 4, but that took a lot of time. So we didn't release Nexus 4 and Nexus 7 in OTA 1, but we will do it now in OTA 2 with the old canonical port that's ported from a different Android version. I think it's Android 4.
4.4, yeah.
Yeah. And we were trying to make a new port, but that's a lot of work. And I think Andreas was working on that, and he just doesn't have that much time to get it done that quickly. So we will have a new channel for the developers to work independently from the always moving targets, so we can test new ports. It's also going to be interesting in the future with Halium, so we can test a bit more independently from the rest. But usually you won't install that. It's just for the developers.
Yeah,
Even more than Devil.
The experimental is probably going to be 99% broken, and
Yeah.
that's the thing with the experimental branch, is that developers can try out things, they can just push whatever and don't care about breaking devices, because this is a channel where it's essentially just a playground to test out the different components of the operating system, and also to
Yeah.
test out that updates, recovery, and all the installers work without
Yeah.
doing it live, which is a really bad idea.
And it might also be interesting if we want to expand our reach to new devices, so we can allow for more like unofficial devices on the experimental channel, so people can just play with it and have a go at it. And even if it's not working at all, even if almost no features are there, so because we can't have a device without working Wi-Fi on the RC channel, that just won't fly. But we can have it on experimental, so we can say, okay, this is a work in progress. Developers are developing. Don't disturb us.
Yeah.
Short interruption, just a question that fits here. People asking when will be OTA 3 released. So I would say just wait for OTA 2 first, and then we're going to talk about OTA 3. But I think we can say we wanted some time years ago, or some when we talked about this first time, we wanted to have a periodic release of, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks or so, maybe 8 weeks. I think it will, in the beginning, we will lag a little bit, and it will take longer, because we have seen now for it OTA 2, we wanted to release already earlier, but it needed time to stabilize. We will always deviate from the schedule, and it can be delayed if we want to finish certain things, because we don't want to just bring every month, every 4 weeks an OTA, but then there's nothing inside. If we want to make an OTA, we also want to give you some features that make sense, and not just correcting some, I don't know, pixels that were left and they are now right, and then we call it an OTA. So there should be some substantial improvements inside, or critical fixes, or something that really is notable. Yeah? So I don't know. I would really expect that OTA 3 is something that that we can target somewhere to the end of October, let's say, yeah? But no promises. Yeah? Depends on, I didn't look inside the list now, what's pending there, but probably not before. Yeah?
But also to note with the next release is OTA 2 has been an extreme amount of work done on the infrastructure, the build servers, and just the infrastructure in general, and that have taken so much time of developing on the actual OS, and also increased the time that the development has taken for OTA 2. So with OTA 3, I would expect things to go a lot faster, and get a lot more future into the OS instead of just the infrastructure. Since the infrastructure are now, it's getting pretty solid. You can now, for example, the developers can push to for example, a branch called Vivid Dev, where everything gets automatically builds in a PPA that's called, or overlay dev channel PPA, and then we have, if you push it to the Vivid branch, you get automatically into the images. So there's so much automation that's going on, that the infrastructure, the Jenkins server are building all the time. It automatically pushes to the system image server that does that every day, builds blah 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 blah. And with this thing, we now can more effectively build the OS instead of focusing on Jenkins, and that's one thing that has one reason why. First of all, there isn't many changes, but there is quite a lot. Actually, I'm surprised there is so many. But next release, I would expect things to go faster and more things in the OS itself.
After all, we are an open source project, and we want to incorporate the principle of early release often. Mm-hmm. But we can't release something incredibly broken on stable. And also, we don't want to release like every tiny little fix as an image update on stable, because that would be a little ridiculous. But if you want the features more quickly, you can always switch to the RC channel. It shouldn't break horribly, hopefully. If it does, just switch to another channel, I guess, or revert. But yeah.
Yes, the best part about Ubuntu Touch is everything is still a file, just like on your desktop. So you can always go back.
Just a small thing, people were asking if they get notified automatically. Unfortunately, not now. So you have to go to system settings, to the updates, and then check if there is a new update. So tomorrow for RC, hopefully, in 1 week for stable, hopefully, go inside and check, and then it will automatically start downloading, as I do it here now for the devel channel. And because why I'm mentioning this now, I wanted to show the new the new update animation again when our little robot kicks in. I don't know if everybody has seen this already.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
I think we can show it just in a second. And here it is. Here is our robot, and he has 2 animations actually. Now we can see blinking the eyes and moving dots.
That's a feature.
It should give you assurance that something is still happening, because sometimes it takes a considerable time. And before it was just a screen that was static. And so we said, okay, we want to have a little animation here. Thanks, Marius. That was a really great thing.
Also to note on that, that's only for Nexus 5, 1+1 and Fairphone 2, since we have the recovery source for it. We don't have the recovery source for the other devices, so we can't sadly modify that. So that's the reason why the other devices won't have this update, and that's why they are having the old canonical update screens. We might look into this in the future. Maybe we can build our own recovery based on Cygemod, but for now, I think that's too much effort because that would take a credible amount of work to get that working on all the devices, because every device needed.
Welcome.
Yeah, if you want to build it, recovery, so just replace that recovery with the Cygemod recovery and then build it. It might work, but there is some tweaks that needs to be made that probably make it to do it without a full canonical source from it. But on that task, that boot animation is pretty. It's a pretty complex thing, because it has 2 animation that runs on 2 different threads. You have the blinking animation, which blinks randomly, and then you have the static one, which is just blinking dots that does it every second or something like that. So that's pretty cool. We have the most advanced update screen, I think.
If you're thinking these guys are wasting time, yes, we are.
Well,
cool
on that specific one at least.
Well, ask Jan how long I took to make it, so it didn't take long.
Yeah, a couple of hours. It wasn't that long, and it was broken before on the Nexus 5 at least, and I was at Marius's house that day, so I noticed it was broken on the Nexus 5 before, because it wasn't showing an animation at all, and he was like, "Okay, I'm fixing this now." And then he messaged Flo, "Okay, I'm working on the Nexus 5 recovery," and Flo was like, "Why don't you make the robot blink?" And Marius was like, "Say no more."
And then I think it didn't go more than an hour or so, and then later I just showed Jan, and he's like, "Wow." that's pretty much what happened. This amazing thing happened when 2 guys I stopped myself there, because I know that didn't go well.
Okay. Let's move on to the questions, shall we? All right. Community questions that we've been taking in from our forum. That is a cat.
That is a cat, yes.
Keen observation.
Mm-hmm. So these came in on our forum thread that I posted on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day it was in your time zone. So every 2 weeks we start to take questions a few days before the Q&A, just so that everyone can kind of think about them. We can get our answers right. So Here we are from the thread. We'll also take questions from the live chat and from Telegram. So, without any further ado, let's start. Bastos asked on our forum, what is the status of the canonical notification service?
The status there is not much been going on the notification side of things. It is a thing we really want to get working. But now that I think this is my target for OTA3 because it is a really important thing, and for us to make that work would be it because notification. I would say that that's the primary thing of a phone. So for us to get that working is extremely important in my opinion. But as I said, there has been no real developing on that. I don't think they've been developing on it at all. We really need to discuss how to make the notification system. I have made some sketches and some tests because now I've been building a new API, web API system. And with that web API system, I've been just sketching up some stuff, kind of similar to the Google notification system. And we might be able to implement that. I right now I don't know. Maybe Flo has some more information on it.
Well, not much more information than what we had already last Q&A. I think there was a similar question, if I remember. I just explained at that time that what we put already into the development images is the preparation or some idea how the local notifications can get much more modular. So that means that our app developers can more easily implement a kind of script or a kind of small daemon part of their executable, which is not 100% sure how this is together with the click confinement, but the idea is to call the app somehow so that it can do some small background processing. And that would enable pretty much new functions, like, for example, email notifications. So I'm already with Dan Chapman from Dekko, we have discussed this through, and for example, for Dekko, it's clear it would work. We didn't work on it because we had not so much time, that's right. And we could try to target this for OTA3, at least to have this framework ready. And then the only part that is missing is that we have to do some implementation in the app, of course, for the local notifications. Remote notifications, this is a much wider discussion, and I think currently we have done no decisions on that, if something would be possible or not. There was a discussion with the Sailfish guys. They also are, or they had some kind of public notification service which runs on some standard APIs. Quite interesting. On the other hand, the basic question is, do we want to run a remote push service for the phones or not? And there are hundreds of opinions about this. So I think we need more time to discuss if this is really something that brings more benefits than it has disadvantages. What we have to say, of course, is that the Telegram notifications, they are completely depending on canonical infrastructure, which will someday go down, maybe end of year, maybe not, I don't know. I really tried to talk with a lot of people about this. I talked with technical people from Canonical. They explained me how the infrastructure looks like. We could theoretically, with some small adjustments, take over what they made, if we want. On the other hand, I don't think that we want to do this. The second thing is, I was trying to get in contact actually with the Telegram guys. It sounds really weird. It also didn't work. So still I'm thinking about a way how we can try to interact with them, because either way, if we have local notifications, the only chance is that we log into the Telegram account, sum up the new updated messages, and then reflect this as a local notification. The problem with that is it's a really heavy protocol, and logging into the account for Telegram is much more complicated than logging into an email account, for example, to see if you have new pop or IMAP messages. So probably it will be a completely waste of battery if the Telegram checks every 5 minutes if there are new notifications, because I have to run the whole stack, including all the cryptographic stuff. And if I'm out of luck, I have to log into up to 5 data centers until I find the information that I need. So it's not really lightweight. But said that, I would say this is a mixed discussion between what infrastructure we want to provide, what the people on the app side want to do. At all the thing is that we have a modular, let's say, a small script and daemon-based solution on our mind that will open or enable immediately some resolution or some ideas where we can play with it. So I think we can expect that we move into this direction for the next updates. Yeah.
Whew. Okay. So, Cliff's notes on a lot of ideas on notifications and canonicals at some point that they haven't specified. Okay. Another question coming in from Bastos. How stable is devel channel? The one that rebuilds itself every day or automatically now?
Now it's pretty good because we are lining up our features for OTA too, but usually it might be broken.
It also depends on what device you have there, because if there is, for example, like Nexus 5, which will be done modifications to the kernel and to Android, which is a really critical part which can break with some false modification. And that's also the scary thing with devel, is that since it's automatic and it pulls automatically from Git, kernel and everything, it might break. So it's, as Jan said, it is stable when you are when we are close to an OTA. It's got more and more stable, and after an OTA we will mostly just throw in new stuff and then improve them over time. So it's kind of going in like this in a wave, and it's like stable, and then OTA comes and it drops and it goes stable again. So it's kind of, if you don't need the bleeding edge, I would suggest going on stable. But now when we get the automatically translation between devel to RC, that's going to go every week or so. I think RC is probably your best bet if you want both stability and new cool stuff. So
the updates on RC were a little or very infrequent in the past, but as I explained earlier, that will change in the future. But
yeah,
save and stay on RC unless you, or at least if you're not using it as a daily driver. If it's your tablet maybe, and you have it laying around most of the day, then you're probably fine on devel. But it's the bleeding edge, so expect to see blood from time to time.
Yeah, and with that, the reason why RC hasn't gotten that many is because of the infrastructure hasn't been in place. But now the infrastructure is rock solid. Well, it is there. I wouldn't necessarily say it's rock solid yet, but it hasn't failed, so it's rock enough.
That's one way to explain it. Moving on, we got some questions on the Librem 5. Now, this has been the talk of the town, with the town being the UBports community, ever since the, what's the word? Crowdfunding project was announced. It was a few minutes after it was announced that it first appeared in our supergroup, and it's just kept coming up again and again and again. So people are excited about it. And about what it could be as an open source phone. But these questions are a little bit more specific than we've been getting in the week. First off, has there been any communication with Purism to us?
No.
No, there's not. Purism hasn't contacted us about Ubuntu Touch on their phone. However, it does sound like they're interested in having it run. They haven't contacted us yet. Second question, will you try to communicate with them?
Yes.
Maybe. Well, it really depends on how the crowdfunding goes, I would say. If the crowdfunding fails, I don't think there will be any phone. But I think this is a discussion for later. It's kind of uncertain how the system will work. Will things actually be using the mainline kernel? Is there any specific drivers you need? There's many questions that needs to be answered before we can.
Even what CPU they're using, since they aren't even sure yet if it's going to be the IMX6 or IMX8. There aren't any dev boards available, so it's hard for us to say anything about the phone right now, at least until they release something.
Yeah.
And then the third question is another one that isn't as answerable, but since it won't run Android at all, what does that mean for Halium and UBports along with the phone?
For Halium, it's pretty much making Halium non-existing, because that's what Halium does, is bridging the Android to Linux. Or but for UBports, if it uses the standard Linux APIs that does on desktop, Ubuntu Touch would pretty much just work on it if it uses the same desktop technology, because Mir is made for desktop technology. So, but it probably won't run perfectly because it isn't made for that. But Mir would run on it, and Unity would run on it. But more things that might not work as well is things like GPS and maybe camera. There's no. I think there is a standard API for camera, but I don't know if that's implemented in Ubuntu Touch at all. It only uses libhybris. So there's parts that probably won't work, but the graphics stack, Wi-Fi stack, Bluetooth stack will probably work.
Yeah, and again, it's hard for us to answer because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So everything we say is speculation at this point.
Yeah, it's really speculation. But as they say in the crowdfunding, it will be a pure Linux phone. I would expect to use standard desktop APIs. If they don't, won't work, because then we need to implement the APIs or the drivers, whatever.
In any case, if it's a nice device and if there's reasonable interest, we will of course consider it, and maybe someone else will come along and try to make it work.
Yeah.
Even if we don't officially, then someone probably will. So
it's all open source. So
if you're holding out for Ubuntu Touch on that phone, we'd say hold up. Buy it for the official software that's going to be on it, and not for something that we can only speculate if we can provide it. Okay, back to our UBports topics and away from hardware. Well, not away from hardware. It's still hardware. A question from a lot of people on the forum after our last Q&A, when we said that the M10 tablets would get Xenial. Can the Pro 5 have it too? Did we already answer this today?
Yes. There's a simple answer for that. The Pro 5 will get Xenial because it was already ported by Canonical. Canonical has done the heavy lifting. So yes, after we found this out, yes, it will get it, because there was so much speculation there, because Canonical didn't really announce it very well what devices was running Xenial, wasn't. They were kind of hidden, so we kind of had to search for them. But now we found out that they do work. The Pro 5 do work, and the M10 tablets do work on Xenial.
Let's put a disclaimer on this, though. Xenial will take some time to get to a working state. At the moment, it's actually we haven't touched it in a while. It's still only because we were focusing on OTA 2. It's still only running on the Nexus 5, I think. But we will, of course, also put channels up for the other
devices. Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, the other devices.
As soon as they use, as soon as they work.
As soon as they work, then we really need more developers. So if you are a developer and you have the skills required for it, install it on your device. Try to fix stuff. We don't have a list at the moment of things that don't work because nothing works. So install it, fix something, commit it. That's the workflow. But we will try
be easier. It would be easier to make a list of things that does work.
Yeah. Actually, there is on the wiki, but it's very short. But we will try to make the work we are doing on 1504 at the moment as transferable to 1604 as possible, so we don't waste our time, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Moving
Also
right
here,
along. Oh, sorry.
Just an additional question from live chat was Vijay wanted to know from Mario if there are any updates on new device ports. And I think I can say there are no updates for new device ports, except what we said before, that we want to have this experimental channel, and maybe have some people from the community show off their ports there also. That could work. For example, there was one guy on the forum who was working on a Motorola port for 2014 something, I forgot.
The Moto G4, I believe.
Yes, exactly, this one. So it looked already pretty okay, because he got graphics, he got Wi-Fi, I think, and other things were working. He had a problem with sound. As soon as it's in such a stage, we can support people from the community who have already made some supporting efforts, that they put this also on this experimental channel, and other people can try and give feedback. In this case, it will be not our official port. We will not work on this ourselves. We also don't have the devices. We probably don't have the time. But we want to be a little bit the broker between the developer and the users. So for Vijay, it always depends on which device you're thinking about. But from our side, we have a lot of devices on the homepage still, and we have to get them to some good state. So I think we still don't take in new devices.
And also, I think that I have been doing on my free time, which is surprisingly, do I have free time? On my free time, I have been doing some Holium stuff, and with that, I've been experimental with trying to make Holium work with Upstart, and I got some progress. So I will probably post some new devices on the experimental as the foundation, just to kickstarting, and then people can take it from there.
Okay, I also wanted to say, in my free time, I was looking at Helium, and I really got that one to do something. So I'm following in Mario's footprints to learn, because I'm not so skilled. But I think in our free time, we also want to have new devices, and I completely understand the community. And here on my table, there are really two let's say, really difficult things. This is another one. I also want them to run UBports, Ubuntu Touch. So
are we making a theme out of this?
Maybe, yeah.
Do I need to get one of my projects in free time?
So anyway, I think new devices will come, and we don't have any roadmap, no official saying, of course, but yeah, let us be surprised about what the community can do for us.
Yep, and we have had ideas on how to show that work off on the Holium side, between the website and some other infrastructure for them. So,
yeah, I think this experimental it will be good to have some Holium stuff there, and also now that it works, I can say it doesn't work. The only thing that doesn't really work is Mir on Android 7. Yeah, and Android 7, and when that's fixed, devices that run Holium should be able to run at least the graphical part, Wi-Fi part, and Bluetooth stack on our current Vivid images, which is surprising that I say I didn't expect it to just work that well.
Right.
It's always this when you're a developer. Why does it work and why doesn't it work? It's always that's the two questions you ask.
Yeah, you've seen that shirt, right? My code works and I have no idea why. My code doesn't work and I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's
Just keep in mind that the CPU is essentially a rock that we tricked into thinking. So that maybe puts it into perspective.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Another one. We do have a couple of questions in our live chat. Excuse me. So the first one is: has there been any news on the foundation? Does it have anything to say?
Not that much. We are always tinkering a bit. We're talking to an accountant and a lawyer to make sure it's smooth sailing when we set it up. But we can't push it too hard because we don't want to start up with statutes that don't work for us later, because then it will just be a huge hassle. So we are always continuing to work on it. Yeah, it's not very. There's not very much to say, but it's still alive. The ETA is still beginning of 20. What year is it? 2018. Yeah.
Right. The beginning of its financial year would be the beginning of the year anyway, so it makes sense to start it then. We're not trying to rush it too much, because then we're going to end up with problems, both legal and financial. So it's still coming, still working on it.
Yeah.
It's just not here yet.
I even already signed my application for it. So we have already collected some paperwork from the board of the foundation. We are completely ready to go. As soon as the lawyers say, yes, you can, we will. So it's partially in our hands to fill in all these forms and make all this administrative process, which is always a hassle for technical people and for IT biased folk, because they don't like so much administrative stuff. Yeah, but unfortunately, it's the only way to go. We selected Germany because it has a very trustworthy legislation. But on the other hand, of course, they are very picky. So we need to fill in everything correctly. Otherwise, they will throw it back and we start from the beginning. So I think it will take some time also, but we are in a good way, because so far it looks feasible. There is no big blocker at the moment, except one wrong form maybe.
Okay, moving back to UBports software. We got a question on the forum. Are scopes dying?
Well, I think that this is also a question back to the users.
Do you want scopes to die?
Yeah, it really depends on what developers do with it and what users do with it. If there's no users using it and no developers developing for it, there's no use for having it, because no one wants it. But if people want it, we want to keep it. You need keep in mind that this is a community project, and we do what everyone wants, and that's the beauty of it. There's no dictation here. So if the community wants scope, scope will be. If they don't want
Skype.
Skype. Well, that you have to ask Microsoft. That's dictatorship. Microsoft did. Yeah. Well, no, not getting on that train. So yeah, I think starting hello, Bushan. Just Bushan throw me off there for a second.
If people want scopes really, really badly, and people are willing to help us maintain scopes, then we will have scopes. But if not, then they will die.
Yeah, we also had it was a couple of months ago, but we had a chat with some application developers, and the interest in scopes wasn't crazy big. There was a wish though for something like the old Today scope, where you can just aggregate content, but we're still thinking about if this needs to be done the same way like scopes used to be. It could also be, which is my favorite solution, by the way, that it's inside an indicator. So you have like a today indicator where you have, yeah, just stuff that's happening at the day, and then the home screen is just a home screen. But yeah, I guess there will be more discussion on this, and we will reach a point where everybody is happy or nobody's happy.
Or some
eventually.
people are happy, which is the more likely option.
Yeah.
But I think a good idea here to start a forum, people can discuss why and how they would like the scopes to be.
Yep. And we'd also really like if app developers would come in for that, because you're the ones who are going to be writing the software. And if you completely hate the paradigm that you're writing for, then you're probably not going to write it. So we would need their input as well as users. Okay. The last question that I have from the forum today is from, nope, not going to try the name. Not going to try it. But the question, it was in French first, and I didn't really understand it. But then someone else who can read French asked the question again in French, and I could translate that to English. And that I managed to understand. Is BQ going to open source their phones? And
well, we are not BQ. We don't know.
Yeah, and we have, the reason I put it in is because we've had the question a few times, so that's why it's here, so we can get a little discussion.
Let me add just 2 sentences to this. I got hold of someone that will maybe give us a contact to BQ to talk to someone there. So we have maybe a channel there where we can talk with BQ guys. What is their opinion? Or they also don't respond like the Telegram guys. I don't know. But yeah, as we are an upcoming foundation, we can then say, look, we are the UBports Foundation. We are not just 3 people having fun. We are, I don't know, 1,000 people having fun. So this is a big pressure. We can also make some campaign that everybody sends a mail to BQ. Maybe that helps. Yeah? So there are some social engineering possibilities, but I don't want to flood them. Yeah? This is really not a good behavior. So for the moment, I would say we could try to talk with them because it would be a benefit for us if we have, even for our legacy devices, more information, more code that we can use. And also maybe there is 1 or 2 devices from BQ that would be possible that we make a port for it. Yeah? But to be honest, officially, we have no contact with them. We don't know what they're up to. Yeah?
It's also important to keep in mind, though, that BQ doesn't withhold the source code because they are followers of Satan or something. They maybe just don't have licenses to open source it. So if they will have to pay a lot of money to give us the source code, it will probably not happen. And we also can't pay for it, at least not at the moment.
What? I never heard that conversation. Okay. Okay, so you heard it here, folks. If you hold closed source software, you're officially worshiping Satan.
Yes. I don't believe that. Am I Satan? Oh dear. I mean,
busted.
Busted.
Do you have proprietary software? What is this?
We could invite Mr. Stallman for one of the next Q&As. That would be fun.
I don't.
Yeah. Well, I think we wouldn't be able to use Hangout though. We are using proprietary software right now, so
we would go visit him.
We would go visit. Well, okay.
Interesting discussion we've gotten onto. So I'm just doing one more look over the groups to see if we have any other questions coming in.
Not a question, but I wanted to give note that we have added the Dekko project also to the Weblate translation server. And Dan would be happy if people kick in on Weblate and start translating a little bit, because he's missing a few languages there, or some languages. So anyone who speaks a fancy language, please register on our Weblate server, translate.ubports.com, and help out with Dekko. Because for the core apps, most of the translations are looking quite fine. Dekko, but OpenStore also could need a little bit more love. So maybe I can motivate a few people to look in. And yeah, I think it's also very nice that we have the possibility for the surrounding projects to help them with the translations, and to have a central place for that. Because then all the translators that are interested in our project, they will find not only UBports core things there, but also the befriended or the related projects. And this is what I'm aiming for. Yeah.
That is all the questions that we have today. Are there any more small updates other than translations? Small calls for help or anything?
There are some questions on the YouTube live chat.
There are?
Yeah.
I've been watching that.
For example, is C code useful for the project? Yes. Go to ubports.com/ubports and filter for language 3. And
github.com/ubports.
What did I say?
You said ubports.com/ubports.
Oh yeah, that does not make any sense. github.com/ubports and filter for language C, and that will give you a couple of repositories. For example, some of the indicators are written in C. Of course, all of the kernel is written in C, so if you want to do kernel patches for all devices, knock yourself out. And then there's a lot in C++. You probably also know C++.
Yeah. C++, I think that's like 90% of all the code is C++. So, but
there are also C parts. There are even Vala parts, so of course there are C parts.
Yeah.
And also we would need a Go programmer, because some of the indicator stuff is made in Go, and we want to make a few modifications there. But I don't know, myself is completely out of this because I'm not learning yet another language just for the indicators. So maybe somebody else can take a look at this. So we are really looking for people day by day. You can always ping us in the super group or on the forum. If you think if you dare to do something, then just go, yeah, or pick an app, pick a core app. Some of them are still unmaintained, so yeah, there is a lot of things.
And you can, of course, also commit patches to the maintained ones. Nobody's stopping you.
Yep, pull requests. That'd be a good way to get started, is to pick an app that someone is already maintaining, so that they can tell you, this is good, this needs some work. And that way you can get comments on your code quality.
We also have some issues tagged help wanted. So if you're looking for something to do, you can globally filter them. We can maybe put a link to that on the blog post. So you can globally filter for help wanted tags on UBports, and then you will probably see something that interests you.
Yeah, I think that the easy way to, if you really want to get started on if you don't know what part to start with, I think the best thing to do is go through the issue list, and you can find the specific part that you want. For example, if there is something to change the text, but it's easy to do, but you still have to compile the source code and you need to figure out this. I think just get started with something like that, and our documentation is coming along. I've been writing some install instruction, not build instruction for most of the C++ part, for at least.
I like documentation.
I do too. I don't like writing them though, but
yeah, that's always the worst part.
yeah.
That you'd like to give?
One quick reminder,
I have
probably.
one.
Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go for it. You can give your quick reminder.
For UBCon Europe in Paris, it's next weekend, I think. I know we already talked about it, but I just saw it in the chat again. So, yeah, we'll be there. If you're near Paris or not near Paris, go there. It will be awesome.
Everything. Go to UBCon. Meet us because we're awesome people, and you should meet us.
If you are on the
probably
planet,
awesome too. So
if you are on the planet Earth, please join us.
Yeah.
If you're on the
Basically.
moon, maybe you can. Maybe
you
too far.
You can Skype Hangouts in or
Yeah.
Jitsi Matrix something.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay. I do have one shout out I'd like to give. The UBports audiocast, which we haven't mentioned except for the episode where Wayne was on, I believe. Mentioned that lately, but I listened in on it this week and I thought, wow, these guys have hit their stride with this one. It has really gotten better in every episode. This time, one half of it got its audio upgraded, and the next one, the other half, should have his audio upgraded as well. So, if you're looking for another podcast that you'd like to listen to, go subscribe to the UBports audiocast because I think that they did really good this time, Wayne and Joe.
Yeah, I have to say I completely love those guys. Wayne out there and Joe in there, you guys are amazing.
Okay, that is everything that we have for this week, I believe. Oh, one small question. Back to UBCon. Will anyone be at UBCon Germany next month? Next month? Yes, next month.
I take the lead.
No?
Yes, I probably will be there. Not 100% fixed, but could be. Yeah, let's say 80% maybe.
I'm not sure yet. I will probably, or at least I will try to be there, but it's the start of my semester, so I'm not entirely sure, but if I can make it, I will.
So, actually, if you'd like to get a hold of us, we're on #UBports on Freenode, as well as our Telegram supergroups and our Telegram group. Twitter. Oh, there's so many of them.
Mastodon, G+. Is it more?
There's probably more that we're missing, but yeah, there's a lot of them. They'll all be in the video description after we're finished here. We'll also have timestamps up around the same time the blog post for this goes up. So if you'd like to read over a summary of what's gone on, head on over to our blog on ubports.com. We also have mailing lists over there that you can sign up for to get news as it comes. Okay, there's nothing else that we have for this week. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
I need more monster. It's empty.